Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Piper Report. So, we have some breaking news here, and we have to discuss it. The White House has decided to put a 25% tariff on $50 billion worth of Chinese goods. And for those who have been following me for a while, you probably know my stance on tariffs already. I'm kind of ambivalent on it. I kind of see advantages and cons of both. Actually did a couple videos a while back. One of them was a video on pro tariffs, why tariffs would be good, and the other one was against tariffs, why tariffs would be bad. And before we go over this article, we have to understand those two main premises. So let me briefly kind of go over why a tariff would be good and why it would be bad. The reason why a lot of people think a tariff would be bad is because it raises prices on goods. And the reason why it raises prices is because countries like China can produce the same quality stuff that America can, but for much cheaper. And this is primarily because of production costs. For instance, in America, we have a minimum wage that we have to abide by. We have government regulations. We have rules like we're against child slave labor, which is completely understandable. Countries like China and Vietnam, they don't have a minimum wage. They don't have as much government regulations as America has. Many of them use slave labor. So, for instance, let's say you are owner of a production company, or a television company, television production company in America. Maybe you can produce a TV for $500. We'll just say that's a good number. Okay, that's probably less, probably more. I don't know, but for the sake of argument, let's say you can produce a TV for $500. Well, China can probably produce the same exact quality of TV, but for $300. And the reason why is because they have less regulations on their businesses. So then when that happens, China is able to sell their TVs, which are the same quality of our TVs, to us at a cheaper price. And since America buys those TVs at a cheaper price, they can then sell them to the citizens at a cheaper price. That means prices will go down. And what's more now, this is also a benefit why tariffs could be bad, is that if you did have a cheaper TV, let's say, for instance, if you buy an American-made TV, you're paying $500. If you buy a China TV, you're paying $300. Well, now you have saved $200 by purchasing a China TV. So now with that extra $200, you could go and spend that money elsewhere in the American economy. Maybe you go to a restaurant, or maybe you go to a movie, maybe you go buy brand new shoes, things of that nature. Basically, you have now helped other businesses in America because you purchased your TV from China. So that would be basically one benefit of not having a tariff. Prices will go down, and when prices go down, you have more money in your pocket. And when you have more money in your pocket, you can spend that money elsewhere in the economy. Now, a benefit of putting a tariff on outside companies would be that you are basically protecting American jobs. That is why it is also referred to as protectionism, because you are protecting people from losing their jobs, from jobs shipping overseas. So in that regard, you are helping out your fellow man because they are not losing their jobs. What's more now, even though prices will go up, usually wages go up as well. And well, first, the reason why prices go up is because when you put a tariff on another company, they are going to retaliate in kind. They are not going to sell you a cheap TV anymore. They're going to raise the prices on you because you are raising the prices on them. So in that regard, prices then will go up for the American consumer. But at the same time, you are also incentivizing people now to go out and create their own TV production company. You are incentivizing people to create more businesses, to increase manufacturing, to develop manufacturing jobs. So in that regard, a tariff is also, it gives you the capability to promote American independence essentially and create the products you want. And even though prices go up initially, over time with this, prices do go down, but it takes a while. So with a trade war or with a high tariff, you will see prices go up. But hopefully you also see American businesses develop and then prices will go down also. But it should be noted too that before 1913, which is when the Federal Reserve was implemented and which was when the 16th Amendment was implemented and all these things, the American government relied on tariffs for the majority of their revenue. It wasn't until after 13, when the progressive income tax became law, that the majority of revenue government received came from the American people. Before that, though, it was all through tariffs. But back then, too, there were a lot of people that were angry about this because, like I said, prices do go up from it. But it is possible yet. This kind of goes back to the whole tax argument. Like, people think that we can't survive without income tax and we can't survive with a flat tax. We have to have the rich pay their fair share of like 50% or whatever they want. No, it's not true. We can live off just tariffs alone, and we could easily live off a low income tax. I would like to see a flat tax of 10%. That would be my go-to tax rate, but I digress. But anyways, yeah, it's just, tariffs can be good and tariffs can be bad. There are two different ways to look at it here, and, well, we should consider all avenues before we make our decision. But on Tuesday, the White House said the administration would proceed with its proposal to impose 25% tariffs on $50 billion worth of goods from China and place new limits on Chinese investments in U.S. high-tech industries. The decision comes after a top administration officials have tried to dampen fears of a trade war. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said a trade war with China was on hold less than 10 days ago, and Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross is expected in Beijing on Saturday to help ease trade tensions between the two major trading partners. Beijing has previously pledged to retaliate against the 25% tariff. And that's what it comes down to now. That's what I was talking about earlier. When you put a tariff on a country or business, usually they retaliate in kind, which is what drives prices up. In a brief statement, the White House said the president plans to take multiple steps to protect domestic technology and intellectual property from certain discriminatory and burdensome trade practices by China. The latest step follows a March report by the U.S. Trade Representative Office, which undertook a 7-month investigation of China's handling of technology transfers and intellectual property. The United States will implement specific investment restrictions and enhanced export controls for Chinese persons and entities related to the acquisition of industrial significant technology, the White House said. The final list of covered imports subject to tariffs will be announced by June 15th. Those tariffs will take effect shortly thereafter. Proposed investment restrictions will be announced by June 30th and also take effect at a later date. So, that's kind of what it comes down to now. Even though it could be bad at first, these tariffs, overall, it could actually be good. We could actually see GDP go up. GDP is gross domestic product. It's basically the creation of goods and services, how much goods you create and sell a year, for really a simplified way to look at it here. But it could be bad, but it could get really good, or these tariffs could be really bad and really bad. Overall, there are two different ways to look at this. I know many people are going to be like, oh, this is horrible, we're going to have a trade war, this is going to destroy us. But the truth is that China also needs the U.S. just as much as the U.S. needs China. So both countries are not going to want this, and they're going to want to work together. And it's possible that China may acquiesce, that they may give up their abusive trade practices now that the U.S. is threatening a 25% import on mostly tech industries. So it's quite possible, but who knows what's going to happen. I think it's important, though, to realize what will happen when a tariff is implemented, the good, the bad, and how it differs from free trade, because that is essential. And there is a lot of miscommunication. There is a lot of ignorance regarding tariffs. And a lot of people don't really understand what a tariff can do and what not having a tariff can do, the pros and cons of each. So I hope this video kind of helped describe the point of a tariff and why they are used and how they can be beneficial but also be detrimental. So I hope you keep an open mind about things and kind of look at it from a different perspective because, well, we are in for a treat. We are in for a treat. It's going to be interesting what is to come from this. And I'm done.